Hey everyone, welcome to another presentation here. Thanks, David, for having me. My name is Tim Racette, and we're going to be talking about high performance hacks for better trading results. I've been a trader for 15 plus years, going on about almost 17 years now. And over the years, I've pretty much stayed the course with futures trading. And there have been a number of things that I found super helpful in my trading, as well as other areas of my life that I wanted to share today to hopefully help you improve your trading results. So thanks for tuning in. Um, we got a lot of good stuff to go over here. And a little bit about myself, for those that are unfamiliar. Like I said, my name's Tim Racette. I blog over at eminimind.com. I guess it's a website now. Started as a blog back in, I don't know, 2010, maybe 2009, 2010. Started the E-mini Mind blog, just kind of sharing some of my thoughts. It was a place to access my ideas and writing from anywhere up in the cloud. And then, people start commenting and asking questions. And then next thing you know, you have a full-fledged website. So I got started trading in 2006, and I was born and raised in the Chicagoland area, north of the city, but close enough where I got to spend a lot of time downtown. And so I had the pleasure of getting connected with some traders down at the Board of Trade. And like I said, now I'm primarily focused on day trading the E-mini futures. I got my start swing trading, and well, I guess I got my start down on the floor of the Chicago Board of Trade. But this is the mid 2000s, early to mid 2000s when we started going down there. I had a friend's dad who worked down there, and so my buddy and I would go down and just kind of shadow some of the traders down there, and they were really discouraging of making a career down the trading pits, down on the floor. Things were really drying up. There were, even at that time, a lot of computer terminals around the pits, and so people would look at the charts and then go into the pits to place trades, maybe take some phone calls from their brokerage or their investing firm, and then just go into the pits to place trades. And that was about it. The commodities pits were super dry, not a lot of action going on in there. So from there, it was nice to start with swing trading. I know a lot of folks, especially when we're in like a bull market, or coming out of the COVID lockdown and being stuck at home, a lot of people gravitate towards day trading, especially the futures markets, because there's no pattern day trading rule. You can build um, build your trading business, just you yourself and a few $1,000. And while the barrier to entry is low, sometimes that means the likelihood for failure is pretty high. And so with my trajectory and starting with swing trading, where I'm just looking at daily bars, I'm looking at, a handful of different stocks, looking to, essentially buy on pullbacks and sell on bounces, and just kind of some very basic trading fundamentals. You build a lot of good habits, and some of the disciplines that come from only looking at daily bars and not being focused so much intraday and looking at every tick and every minute by minute of what's going on. It really helps put your mind a little more at ease. So if you do feel a little bit overwhelmed, and if you are currently day trading, um, you may want to try just going up in time frame. So if you're trading a 1 minute chart and you're finding that you just make way too many trades and you're completely just kind of all over the place, maybe try going up to a 5 minute time frame. And if you're currently swing trading, I guess it can go both ways, and you're looking to be a little bit more active, or maybe you're trading on an hourly chart and you're looking to be a little bit more active, going down to like a 5 or a 15-minute time frame can be a good place to start. So we're going to talk a lot about different different things you can do to improve your trading, and some different hacks, if you will, to help foster some good trading and lead you towards success in your trading. So I've had the pleasure of speaking at a number of presentations as far as the synergy traders go, the Traders Expo, CME Group, and various things. But more importantly, outside of trading, because I don't sit in front of my screen all day, I'm usually focused for about the first hour and a half of the day. That's where I do all of my day trading. And then the last 20 minutes or so, I'm just managing swing trade positions. And sometimes I'll buy puts and things to hedge a long position or whatnot. And I do that at the close. So outside of that, I spent a lot of time outdoors, mountain biking. I grew up in the Chicago area. Now I'm living out in Scottsdale, Arizona. So all winter, we get lots of opportunities to be outside and hike and ride and do all kinds of fun stuff. So um, it's really helpful to get away from the screen as much as possible, because when you are so focused in on the challenge, your brain needs time to digest what it's kind of interpreting. And I use a lot of metaphors to sports and especially cycling. And it's like, if you're training really, really hard, well, when your body, in order for your body to absorb that training, you need to take a break. You need to step back and take a rest. And so that's why it's super valuable, even to just get up and go for a walk around the block, go, go sit at a park for 10 minutes. That kind of stuff is really, really helpful to, um, your brain's still working in the background and doing a lot of subconscious working, and getting away from the screen. Some of my biggest light bulb moments and connect the dots pieces have all occurred after the market's been closed, while I'm outside on a bike ride or on a walk or something like that. So get outside as much as you can. Um, let's see, outside of that, ASU Sun Devil. So I grew up in the Chicagoland area and then came out to ASU, and then been living here in Scottsdale for most of my adult life. Um, I will say, you know, there are a lot of challenges to trading that are completely outside of the mechanics, like the execution and learning the strategy, and um, you know, whether you're going to trail your stop or have a fixed target and all that kind of stuff. And that stuff is so much more important, because anyone can learn strategy XYZ. There's a billion different strategies out there. You know, a handful of them work really well. I will say the simpler you keep your strategy, the better. I'm not going to get too much into like charts and strategy today. I'm going to focus more on the mindset stuff, because really the mindset is the more important part, and the self-control, discipline, word you hear a million times. But having the right frame of mind can really set you up and put you on a good path for that success. And whether it's trading, or I know a lot of folks, are business owners or managers and managing teams and things like that. And you're always going to have challenges, whether it's with trading or your business or your entire life. And so being able to manage different situations as they get thrown at you is really where the value is, where the rubber meets the road. When you get into high pressure situations, how do you respond? How do you handle it? And that's a big part of becoming a successful trader. So the first thing I want to kind of touch on is the bigger picture stuff, or a bigger picture piece, if you will, and kind of looking at defining your success. We're throughout the day here, we're talking about trading psychology and time management and things that you can do to really become successful or elevate your trading to the next level. And for me, when I was in college and in kind of the mid to late 2000s, in that era, the Tim Ferriss was kind of coming on the scene, and his big thing was, how can you create a life that you want to live so that you're not glued or a slave to a job. And so starting with, picturing what your perfect day looks like so that you can then build in the things that you want to do every single day rather than, working a job that you hate for 30 years before you get to actually retire. So I always like to kind of start with, what does your perfect day look like? What are the things that, if you could do anything you want, what would it be that you like to do? Now, chances are, most people, even if they like the idea of sitting around not doing anything, you hear a lot of people who work their whole life, they retire, and then they're bored, they take up a hobby, that hobby turns into a business, and next thing you know, they're making more in their, quote unquote side business hobby than they were in their day job for the last 30 years. And so it's more about doing the work that you love, that gets you fired up, but also makes, financial sense. It's, if you're really into basketball and you want to join the NBA, you can work and work really hard, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get there. So you need to kind of look at, what are my talents and gifts and areas that I can shine? What is your unfair advantage? Is a phrase that I really like. What things, like for me, having access to the board of trade and traders down there, and trading mentors, both downtown, and then we had some really good mentors who had been trading on the screen up in Lake Forest for like since the 80s, and they kind of took us under their wing, shepherded us, and helped kind of steer us down the right path. And so having access to those kind of things, maybe you have access to capital because you've worked for a long time, and you're not necessarily looking to go from zero to a boatload of money. It's more about, you've got enough to live on and you want to slow down your pace of life, trade in the morning, leave your job, and just be able to trade for a few hours and then go play golf or go ride your bike or play with grandkids or whatever. So picture what the perfect day looks like, and that will kind of set you up for success, beginning with the end in mind. And then the other piece is, what do you value? What things do you find important in your life, and what is meaningful to you? Because yes, a nice big house and a Ferrari and all this stuff might sound nice, but do you really care? Do you really want a fancy car? Or would you rather have a really nice set of golf clubs, or go on a really nice trip, or go, what is meaningful to you, so that you can start shaping or piecing together how much that life is going to cost you. And that's kind of the next step. You define your success. Okay, what does my day look like? My perfect day. Okay, well, how much do I need to make each month to live that perfect day? And maybe you find that, you can get by with $4,000 a month. You got your house paid off, and no debt, and really just you don't have a lot of desire to have a lot of stuff. It's more about being able to, go where you want, what you want, do what you want, go where you want, when you want. And if you like, being out in the woods, well, it doesn't cost very much to do that. If you like fishing, sitting in the river and fly fishing, like, that's the kind of stuff that can get you fired up and give you a strong why for doing the thing, in this case, trading, that will then sort of allow you to do the other stuff that you value and that you find meaningful. And then it becomes, okay, well, if I only need to make, $4,000 a month, well, that's $1,000 a week. Realistically, you're talking more like $1,300 a week, because you got, commissions and taxes and whatnot. But you can kind of start to build a general idea of, okay, if I can make 2,000 a week, or let's just say 1,000 a week, $200 a day, it's not going to be as linear as making $200 every single day. But as far as an average and kind of a average per week, you can start to drill down to, okay, if I'm trading futures, how many contracts would I need to trade if my average winners are, 4 to 5 points, or maybe my average winners are 10 to 15 points, but I only have, a few trades a week. And so then it's not so daunting to feel like, okay, I'm sitting here, I got this $10,000 account, I'm only trading one contract, and I got to have these giant trades. And then you let the trades go up, 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 and then they come all the way back down, and you let all this unrealized gain disappear. So starting with kind of the end in mind and defining your success can lead to, okay, how much do I actually need to make? What instruments do I want to trade? Maybe you trade options, and it's like, okay, I'm just going to sell premium, sell premium, sell premium, and be fairly, rigid and mathematical about it, and just get in and take my premium and run. Or maybe you prefer swing trading because you don't have to be in front of the markets all day. You can do all your analysis at the end of the day. Spend 45 minutes just looking through charts, and then in the morning you can put your orders on, or just manage, morning and close, manage the trades. I like to manage trades that I'm holding overnight at the close, because then I get just about a complete candle to have formed. So we're talking like the last 10 minutes of the day. And that way, sometimes intraday, you might go down and break a support level and then come back up and you form this giant hammer. And so it's like, well, if I would have exited in the middle of the day, by the end of the day, I might be saying, oh, shoot, I want to be back in. So I prefer to let the day unfold and then manage the trades at the end of the day. I'm okay putting on a swing trade, you know, during the day, or when it crosses some support level, or the high to low bar, or low to high bar, or whatnot. But managing swing trades, or adding to uh, a longer term position, I like to do that at the end of the day. And yeah, then you can kind of feel a little more in control with your trading when you kind of drill down into the numbers. I use Excel. I know there's a lot of great trading journals and things out there, and a lot of the various platforms will compute your expectancy, R multiple, winning percentage, all that stuff for you. But I still like to log my trades in Excel, and that way I can really see, okay, what would happen if my winning percentage changed by this amount? What if I dropped a few losers and added a few winners? How does that change my expectancy? And so you can kind of poke around with the numbers and look at, various periods of drawdown and outliers and things. And it's just another layer to being able to kind of feel like you're in control with your trading. Um, for any of you who have maybe been in debt and then got out of debt, like that feeling of um, being out of control with your money, like your money just disappears, and you get to the end of the month and it's like, well, where did it all go? Having a really good, and I've always been kind of an Excel nerd and a budgeter and income expense and all that kind of stuff. So this kind of stuff is just fun for me. But if you're not that type, it can be a bit of a struggle. But I do want to encourage you to try and focus in on the numbers, because they can really give you a lot of confidence in your trading when you start to see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months of trade data. You can really start to gain confidence, less hesitation, and all of those things that can kind of build into elevating your trading. So then the next piece, I always like to break things down into process goals. And again, this is kind of analogies come from the sports world. If you want to run a marathon and you've never run a mile before, or if you're just, have never exercised before, you have to kind of start with the end in mind. Okay, I want to run a marathon. And then when is that marathon going to be? Then how do I break it down into the process so that every single day you're just waking up and focusing on that one thing in front of you, just that small thing. And then day by day, if you can get 1% better every single day, in 100 days, you're going to be twice as good. And we all know that in reality, life doesn't work that way. You take a lot of steps forward and then you take some steps backwards, or you're on a good run with your trading, and then you hit a bad week, or you are super motivated and pumped up, and then you kind of get into a period where you're a little bit down, or slightly bummed out. But it's picking yourself back up from those periods. I think Tony Robbins would be the biggest cheerleader of that, and in the mindset, and always just picking yourself back up as quickly as possible and getting out of that mental negative state. There's a lot of other good, what would you call them? Positive, motivational speakers, positive mindset, all that kind of stuff. Norman Vincent Peale's book actually is a tangent here. What is that one called? Power of Positive Thinking. That's a great book to really just stay on the forefront of your mental game, especially coming out of COVID, and just being, as a trader, you're at home a lot. You're by yourself. You don't talk to a lot of other traders, unless you're in like a trading hub. We had actually a lot of trader meetups in the Chicago area. I knew a lot of people at Thinkorswim and that kind of stuff, and so I was always around traders, and you could talk about things and express your frustrations. But if you're just at home by yourself, maybe you're in a chat room or something, but it's a lot harder to find that group or clan to associate with. So, but anyways, back to the process goals. The first thing that is important, we're talking about the mindset, sure, but you also want to make sure you're mastering the technique. And so we'll just say, mindset is 70%, and then the technique is 30%. And so, yeah, if you have the right mindset, you could do okay, but you need to be able to know why you're placing the trade so that you can repeat it. If you just make one trade and you make $10 million and you never trade again, okay, that's great, but it's not really the career path of trading. And we're talking about, okay, mastering a technique that resonates with you, not somebody else, that you're going to be able to repeat every day or every week. And so that you have, concrete reasons why and what you're looking for. And so with the futures market, now we have, the micros. Yeah, 24 hours worth of trading. There's a lot of tools with, practice accounts and stuff like that. When you're trading, if you're trading the micros or a small account, the process goal should be focusing on mastering the technique, not making money, or not making $10,000 with trading 5 micros. You'll get there with being able to scale up to the minis, and even just trading 3 or 4 mini contracts on like the ES or the NQ, you can do really well as far as monetarily. If you're swing trading, a $25,000 account, get outside that pattern day trade rule. And you can do okay, but getting up to like 50,000 or 100,000 so that you have room to take positions that are meaningful. That's when you'll start to see, the profits and the meaningful dollars attached to it. But the first step is mastering the technique. So use those, practice accounts or trading the micros to focus on mastering your technique. And then you can kind of work your way from a couple of micro contracts and then work your way up to the minis, and then be able to scale from there. I think it's really important to keep a mistake log, just so that you don't make the same mistakes over and over again. So whether it's a legal pad or a notebook or a Word document, just keep those mistakes fresh in your mind each week, so that you don't fall into the trap of spending 2 weeks, making the same mistake over and over again. With cycling, especially mountain biking, there's so many inputs that come at you and things that you need to do when you're riding on the trail. You got rocks and roots, and you got the speed differences, and how are you going to brake, and where's your body position going to be. And so it's nice to break down those different pieces. And when you go out on the trail, every ride needs to have a purpose, and not every ride is focused on the fitness side of things. Sometimes you go out and you just work on, braking and braking in a specific turn and carrying speed through the turn and exiting the turn fast. And you just do that over and over and over again until you don't really have to think about it. And so with trading, it's a lot of the same in terms of making sure you don't make those same mistakes. And then each week you can come in and say, okay, this week I really want to focus on, um, you know, my trail stop, or this week I'm really going to focus on, if I go through my checklist and I hit all 5 criteria, I'm going to take the trade, and because it hits those 5 criteria, it's a valid trade, and regardless of the outcome, I'm going to be content because the trade was valid. So I'm not going to go back and you know dwell on the fact that like it worked out or it didn't. A lot of times people associate a good trade with a winning trade and a bad trade with a losing trade. But really, if at the time you place the trade, it meets your criteria and it's valid, then the outcome doesn't make it good or bad. It can be a good setup that just stops you out. And sometimes you could just throw a dart and end up with a winning trade, but you have no idea why, and you can never repeat it. So we talked about picking one thing to work on, and that's really helpful because every week you got 5 trading days, and you can just pick one thing each week to kind of work on, maybe your entry, your stop, your trade management. And that's why if you keep things simple, you don't need a whole bunch of indicators. You don't need 20 different monitors. Focus in on one market, one time frame, one trade ladder, and that way you can really get comfortable with the trading platform that you're on, so you're not making mistakes. It really doesn't matter what platform you're using. I've used Thinkorswim for 15 plus years. I've used other futures brokers like the Trade Ladder Dome over the years, but my eyes are so tuned into Thinkorswim and my chart layout. Like, you just know exactly where you're looking, where you're clicking, and that stuff's important because the market's moving really fast, and you don't want to be, open a new account at a new platform, and then you're clicking long and it's putting you short, and you're making all these mistakes. And there's enough going on that you don't need that to throw you off. So then the next thing that I like to encourage people to do is called an 80-20, and look at what's working and what's not. And I'll do this at the end of every month. I've done it every week before as well. And it's just a real helpful exercise to ask yourself, okay, what worked this week and what didn't? Or even during the day, it's like, okay, Monday, what worked today with my trading? What setups worked and what didn't? Okay, let me do more of those setups that work. Maybe counter trend trades were working really well that day, so I'm going to continue doing those on Tuesday and Wednesday. And it's like, oh, maybe halfway backs we're blowing through the 61.8 and we're not really getting any bounces. So, all right, I'm going to pass on those setups. And so constantly asking what's working and what's not, and then doing more of what's working, less of what's not, is a way to always kind of be course correcting. I like to shrink the time window that I trade as a way to limit my loss. So I just focus on the first 90 minutes of the day to day trade. That's where most of the volume and activity is occurring anyways. We talked about picking one market, one time frame to focus in on that. Then you can scale either up in contracts or go from trading the ES, and then you add in the NQ and the Russell or whatnot. It's also really helpful to, if you're going to trade futures, just focus on futures. And if you want to add a second market, that's fine. But to go from be trading futures and options and stocks, it can pull you in a lot of different directions, and you can end up kind of giving each of them 75% effort instead of focusing in and going 100% on one market. I find that works a lot better. I also encourage people to focus on quality trades over quantity. As an individual trader, you're not going to win in the scalping game, taking a couple of ticks at a time when you're competing with high frequency computerized trading, AI, all this other stuff. I mean, even before AI, there's just computers that are much faster, co-located right next to the NYSE servers that are going to be moving so much faster with so much more volume. So focus on quality trades that you can repeat. And if you only have 3 or 4 trades in the day, that's totally fine. If you have no trades in the day because there was just nothing that's set up, that's also fine. And then it's really important to limit drawdowns. This is something that's come up in the last couple of years with some of these, I guess, new age prop firms, if you will, like your Top Step and your Apex and those kind of things, where you're trading other people's money in a sense, and they have these drawdown rules or parameters. But even outside of that, limiting your drawdowns are super important, because if you can't cut yourself off on a given day or a given week, like chances are, if it's a rough day, it's not all of a sudden going to turn around and be an amazing afternoon. Or if it's a rough couple of days, chances are it might just be a challenging week and your setups aren't working super well for that week, and that's okay. Other times there's fantastic weeks and you acknowledge that it's a great week and trading feels super easy, and you just, bank it and do it for as long as it lasts. But you need to be able to cut yourself off on a day that's you're just not feeling it. So I limit myself to 2 losses per day, like 2 full stop outs. And just having that rule prevents me from, it kind of gives me a little extra check as I place a trade. It's like, okay, do I really want to place this trade? Because if I open my charts and 1 minute into the day, I place a trade, place 2 trades and have 2 stop outs, it's like, well, I'm done for the day. Next piece is talking about the most important thing, or a couple of things. And if you can be intentional with your trading decisions and the process of your trading, and be taking action that's intentional, those 2 things are really the most important. You can read books and watch videos, and there's a bajillion videos on YouTube now. A lot of them are junk, but it can certainly take you down a rabbit hole with a million different directions. So coming into each day or each week, maybe Sunday night, you sit down and you kind of focus on, or laying out a plan. Like, if I get to Friday, what would make this week successful? Or at the start of the day, okay, if I get to 5 o'clock, what would make me feel good, crack open a beer or have a cocktail and feel like, yeah, today was a good day. It doesn't necessarily need to mean that you made $10,000. It's more about, what things do I want to accomplish today or this week that would, be moving me forward. And so by being intentional and then taking action, it's a lot easier to take action on very small things. If you, are if you're afraid to go to the gym, it's a lot easier to just put on your shoes and start walking out the door and walk into the gym. And you start doing some of these small things that just sort of snowball into bigger things. And then all of a sudden they become a habit. And next thing you know, you're somebody who works out. A lot of people don't like to suffer when you're doing endurance sports. But in time, you can start to shift your mindset and, in a kind of twisted way, enjoy the suffering, because you know that you're pushing your body, and then you're going to be able to rest and improve the next time you come back out. So those kind of things, it all starts from the mindset. And then the other piece is, kind of about relating to the take action part, is knowledge is really great. And it's great to read a whole bunch of books and be very knowledgeable. But when you apply that knowledge, that's when you really gain a lot of control or power. And so just having a great strategy and sitting there on paper account trading and trading and trading, that's really not getting you closer to your goal. So laying out a plan, okay, I'm going to focus on mastering my trading technique this month, and I'm going to do it on a practice account. I'm going to make sure I have my charts set up how I want them, keep it really clean. I'm going to practice on my trade ladder, make sure that I know exactly what I'm doing. And I would encourage you to, turn off or get rid of anything that is not influencing your trading decisions. Does it help me enter, manage, or exit the trade? Do I need all these buttons in my trade ladder, or can I just get rid of half of them so I can be much more focused? And then, I'm using the futures as an example because that's what I trade, but going from, a practice account, trading a couple micro contracts, getting some real trade data under your belt, and then being able to look at, 40 or 50 trades and look at your R multiple, your expectancy, and then slowly working your way up to the minis, and then kind of being able to scale from there. When you have a bit of a roadmap laid out, it makes it a lot easier to kind of come into each day and take those small steps. You're not like when I'm going, if I do a 40-mile race or a super long bike ride, I'm not thinking about, okay, it's a 100-mile ride. I have 99 miles to go. I have 98 miles to go. And I'm just thinking like at the start of a race, I'm just thinking, okay, I need to be top 5 into the first pinch point. Or like a lot of times you start on a big open section, then you go down into a narrow single track trail. And so all I'm thinking about is going from the start line to that first section of single track. And it might only be, 2 or 3 minutes. And that's all you're focusing on is the very next thing in front of you. And then from there, it's like, okay, now settle into a group and then, okay, just got to get over that next climb. And you just got to get around the first lap and then get around the second lap. And so when you're breaking it down, you still have that end in mind, and that goal. Like you know what the goal is, but then you can use all your conscious brain power to just be focusing on the next most important thing in front of you. So some helpful tips that have really helped me in my trading. I'm a big fan of like visualizing and meditating. You could do yoga. You could just go for walks. It doesn't have to be all, you know, woo woo or whatnot kind of meditation. You can sit and close your eyes and follow along with, various apps and things like that, the guided meditation, but just kind of clearing your mind, gaining that self-control is what you're trying to gain from the meditation. Visualizing, being comfortable with your full stop out so that when you place the trade, you've already accepted your full stop out and you're comfortable with that. And so if you don't get stopped out and it turns into a winner, like that's all gravy on top. So making sure that, okay, am I trading the amount of size or the amount of shares that I'm trading? If you're super nervous about being stopped out, chances are you're trading too big of size. And so scaling it back to a point where you can be comfortable with your trades, and you can focusing on managing the trade and not so much about worried about it's going to stop me out and now I have to manipulate my stop and do all these things that aren't adding any value to the trade itself. I like to listen to music when I trade. I've done this for 20 years while I was, writing papers in college and things like that. I listen to classical piano music that doesn't have any words. I find it super, just puts me in a good state of mind. We talked about, defining your success for the week or for the day, so that you know what you're going to work on each week or each training session or each trading session. The other thing I like to do is plan breaks. So there's certain times of the year or certain days that I don't trade, like expiration and FOMC meeting announcement Wednesdays and things like that. And then around like 4th of July, usually There's 4th of July falls on the midweek, then it kind of chops up the week. And so taking that week off, taking the week between Christmas and New Year's off, just having those breaks planned already helps the longevity, just like an athlete would plan off season. So that's really helpful. Uh, Reading is super beneficial. It doesn't have to be trading related, and you don't have to sit down and read, an entire book. Just reading a few pages does something to your mind to get you in a good, a little bit more creative state, and it's 1,000 times better than, scrolling on Instagram or watching dumb YouTube shorts and stuff like that. There's so much garbage out there that just wastes your time. Even if it's a fictional book, just reading a few pages is really, really helpful to kind of get your brain focused. And then also writing things down. I use Post-its and legal pads, and then I'll put things in. Well, I do a couple things. I like Post-its to write things down, and then I just use a super basic notepad on my computer for my to-dos for the day. Like I said, I'm kind of a nerd for Excel and tasks and things like that. But that kind of stuff, it needs to be simple and something you're going to use. And actually writing things with pencil is usually enough to commit it to memory, and then you don't end up needing to write it down in like another place. So yeah, writing things down is super helpful with pen and paper, or just writing in general. And then I'm not a big fan of like uh, watching TV or like CNBC and that kind of stuff. Well, at all, but especially while I'm trading. Um, a lot of that stuff is just fluff, and there's really no value to it. So you almost want to like put blinders on and just trade your strategy in your little bubble and do the things that are valuable to you and ignore, everything else around you. Especially, living here in Scottsdale, you could drive a $400,000 car, someone to pull up next to you with a nicer car. You could have a $5 million house, and you know you go down the street, someone's gonna have a $6 million house. So that goalpost will always be moving if you're really focused on stuff. And so instead of kind of letting that be the driving force, figure out what it is for you. Maybe you're spiritual, or maybe you like to just go out and get away from people. Maybe you love people, and just being able to go out and socialize is super valuable for you. But most of the most of the media stuff out there is just a distraction. And then the last piece is just start. I've talked to a lot of people over the years who have really good ideas, and then you talk to them a year later, and oh, whatever happened about the idea? Oh, I just never acted on it, never did anything with it. Um, it's important to just take a step, just like the running a marathon example we were talking about. You just gotta put some old shoes on and go walk around the block. And then next thing you know, you can go around the block 2 times. And then just going for walks around the block is enjoyable. And then you can start jogging, and then you can start, jogging a mile, and just slowly but surely your brain is so remoldable like clay, and shapeable. You can, you know, it's like you have friends who get into something, and they're really into one thing for years, and then it's like Johnny goes on a bass boat with some friends, and all of a sudden he's super into bass fishing, and he just gets so into it, and that's all he focuses on. And so you can really shape your mind. If you want to quit smoking or quit drinking, you can really rewire your brain in a way to where you get to the point where it's like, oh, I'm not even interested in a cigarette. I have no desire to have a beer. And so knowing that, then the inputs that you're letting come into your brain, and the uh, things that you tell yourself, and just the thoughts that you have, like if a negative thought comes into your head, you can kind of pause and just not think about it. And it's a lot easier to do that stuff when those thoughts or negative emotions or anger or whatnot just comes into your head at the first point. Like someone cuts you off in traffic, and it's like if you can shut that down right away, not the gap in traffic, but like shut down that anger emotion right away, then it doesn't spiral to you being frustrated and pissed off when you get to work or when you get to wherever you're going. It's like, oh, well, whatever. Maybe they were, maybe they were rushing their kid to the hospital or something. It's just like you never know. Most of the time, that's probably not the case, and they're just being a jerk. But if you can get out of that negative state quickly, then you're not spending all your time, while you're on your drive, frustrated and pissed off when you could be uh, focusing on other things and coming up with good ideas and that kind of stuff. So just starting, taking action, those are probably the two most important pieces that you can do. A couple of book recommendations as we wrap up. I really like the book Brain Hacks for Traders. It's no, you wouldn't know about it. I don't know how I came across it, but you can find it on Amazon. And there's a lot of things in there that when I read it, it was like, oh yeah, I do that. I do that. And so rather than try to list them all out or write my own book, I just suggest that book for people. And then the other book that's really good, it's a newer book. The Market Wizards books and all those kinds of things are great, but The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Really well written, and just a really good philosophy on money, managing money, going about your life and thinking about money so that money doesn't end up controlling you and you're not like just so consumed by money that nothing else matters. And so that's a really good book, easy read. I think it's an audio book as well. So those are two really good books. And then one final thing is like there's no shortcuts or substitutes for just time in front of the screen. And whether you're swing trading or trading options or futures trading, you can speed up certain aspects of the learning curve. But even if I told you, okay, I want you to buy here, sell here, and do all these things, this is what you're going to look for. You still, in order for you to have the confidence, you need to see it happen. You need to place the trades, manage the trades, get out of the trades, see the profit, see the trades working, feel what it's like to have a losing trade, to have a winning trade, to really understand how you're going to respond. And that's why like the micros or just trading one share, there is some value in that because it is real money. And, those emotions that start pulling at you with small positions are only going to get magnified in large positions. And it's like if you're just kind of a grumpy complainy pants, having $1 billion, there's a good chance you're still going to be just a grumpy complainy chance with $1 billion. So, fixing or focusing on creating the right mindset can help in so many more ways than just the money side of things. And if you can spend the time in front of the screen, integrate trading into your life, not necessarily needing to sit in front of the screen for 10 hours a day, but making it a longer, sustainable journey that you're going to go on rather than more of a get rich quick, then even an hour a day, and all of a sudden it's 5 days a week, or 5 hours a week, 20 hours a month. Like it starts to add up and add up. And you don't have to make 50 trades. You can make a couple of trades a day and be very focused and limit your risk, limit your drawdowns, and do super well. And so there's really no shortcut for that time in front of the screen. And then just working smart and being patient and the cliche of being disciplined, it really, you can be on a roll for a few weeks and then just have one bad day. You have a losing trade and it's like, oh, I'll make it back right now. And you take another trade and it's another loser. And it's like, well, I normally stop after 2 losers, but I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it all back right now. And you just keep digging, digging, digging this giant hole, and then you give back what you had made the last couple of weeks. Or you dig this big hole. The next day, you have a great winning day, and all you did is fill the hole back in. So if you can just, if I have a big winner and then I follow it up with just a standard old stop out, okay, I just call it quits. If it's a great day and I'm having, here's a 5 point winner and a 6 point winner, and I keep trading and things are just hitting trade after trade, well, I just keep trading. And then the third scenario is if I'm just not seeing anything or the chart is super messy and I'm like turning my head sideways, trying to, how I could maybe justify taking a trade there. Like if I sense myself trying to manipulate or force things, then you're better off just calling it quits. And I have no shame in just shutting down after an hour and say, there was nothing going on. I'm not going to sit here and wait to do something silly or make a boredom trade later in the day. Just going to shut down, get away from the screen, go ride my bike or do something else, and then you just come back the next day. And then chances are it's going to be a much better trading environment. And then, boy, when you get into those ripping trend days or just even if it's a range bound day, but the range is big and you're, catching various swings or trends throughout the day, like there are times where it does feel super, super easy. And you just want to acknowledge those times and let the good times roll for as long as possible. So if you head over to eMoneyMind/success hacks, I put a handful of other things up there, notes and links and things like that to some of the stuff we talked about today, and then some additional stuff as well. So you can read more over there. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in. If you have other questions, whether it's trading or mountain bike related or whatnot, feel free to shoot me an email. I got my info on the screen there, tim@emoneymind.com. And I hope you have a great rest of your day and wish you the best of luck in your trading. So we've got a few minutes before our next speaker, and I just want to thank David for having me today for another presentation.